You need a dose of this.
What's up, everybody? Thank you and welcome back to another episode of You Need a Dose of This, the show where I talk to independent creators, people who have their own comic stories that maybe aren't on the big two or haven't been discovered by the big two or the big three or the big four, whatever you want to call them. And I talk to them, deep dive into their world and what they've created and what they've done. And tonight, I have a very special guest because this is a gentleman who has been working on this book, like most of us, who have put their heart and soul into another incredible story. And I'm so happy to have him on the show because I met him online a few months back, and I fell in love with the project. End of Zed is the name of the book, and Eddie Lima is his name. But before I bring him in, I do want to shout out the sponsor of the show, and that is the Pond Bros from ASAP Imagination. Check this out.
Hey, you guys! If you like sensational sci-fi, amazing 80s cartoons, awesome wrestling matches, then we've got the perfect comic for you. Oh yeah! I wanted to say that a lot.
The Pond Bros.
The Pond Bros. It is live on Kickstarter right now. Check it out. All that information is in the show notes. So make sure you show some love to the Pond Bros. They are coming with their comic book as soon as this campaign is over. So help them out and get that. But without further ado, let me bring in the man of the hour, Mr. Eddie Lima. And here he is.
All right, I made it. I made it big time. I made it to your show, George. That's it. I don't need to do no more. I am here. I made it.
No. We need to give you more airtime. You need to do more and more shows, dude. This story is incredible. Eddie, thank you so much for coming on. I've seen you've been making your rounds. You've been doing the podcast thing. You know, and it's what we do, right? When we have these Kickstarters, these crowdfunding campaigns, it's a necessary evil, I want to say, because I know it's daunting, bro. I know it's a lot of work.
Absolutely, no doubt, man. But yeah, I think what really helped is that, you know, this is my first time doing it, first Kickstarter, first time ever. But really seeing those before me and really learning from them and building really close relationships really helped, because all of them kind of told me everything that I'm going to go through, and boy, they were right. From the highs to the lows. So yeah, you guys are right, everyone.
Yeah, no, it happens, man. It happens. I mean, whenever you do a crowdfunding campaign, and those who are out there who are watching, who've done them, know that the first 2 days, gravy, right? Oh man, this is going to be insane. All your people come out because if you've done the work before, people come out but then about week 2, you know, week 3, you're like, man, where's everybody at? Like, what's going on? What do I do? Like, what's happening? You know,
you see tumbleweeds rolling in your house.
It's rough. It's rough. But then, you know, the last 2 days, the last 48 hours, because also, you're doing Kickstarter. So Kickstarter will send out an update to everybody. Last 48 hours, come check it out.
Right.
And so, you know, here they go.
Yes.
But you are here, my friend. And I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for sharing this story with me. Tonight, we're going to deep dive into the End of Zed. And I have so many questions for you on this thing. We have some visual aids for everybody. I love visual aids on this show. I like to show the process. So we have a bunch of really cool stuff to do there. But really quick, just what was the inspiration? Give us the elevator pitch. Give me those 2 things in the next, I guess in the next few minutes. Tell me what inspired you and the pitch.
Well, I tell you, the concept of End of Zed has always been in me as a little kid. Like I remember always being down with science fiction, growing up in the Star Wars world. Right, I literally thought the Force was real. So as a little kid, I'm doing this, trying to move things. It didn't work, you know.
Nice.
But with that, you know, I always knew that there was my connection to sci-fi also had a connection with what I was going through in life, you know. And go through in life, you know, you have a lot of things that, you know, you wish you probably have had. You had little holes in your life, but I know with the story, I wanted to fill those voids. Like the things that were filled, those voids that I had in my life were filled, and particularly by hip hop music, hip hop art, things that stuck with me and really gave me the life that I can live with, that I'm living today, you know?
Yeah.
So End of Zed is a lot about me. It's basically a story about a robot who crash lands in the South Bronx in 1982. He has no memory and he's badly damaged. And he has to navigate probably through one of the most craziest time in the city's history, right? And I say that because you had the negative side of the crack epidemic starting, right? Which not only started, you know, on the East Coast, but it eventually spreads nationwide. But then you also had the positive side of the birth of hip hop, which ushered in new music, new fashion, and new art. So that fascinated me. You know, how does a robot who gets stuck with no memory, badly damaged, how will he be affected within this background? And with blank programming, what's he gonna see, and how does he absorb that information?
Yeah.
And so I think really it's an amazing journey because he ends up finding out that not only he has an origin here, but more importantly, there's a purpose he has. So really excited to take it out. And those that have seen you know, the story from the beginning, those who I've already shared the first episode of it, they absolutely love it because it really, and there's a lot more that's going to come after that. So
dude, you know, I was thinking about this today because, you know, obviously we're going to have this conversation and I was trying to think, wow, how did I come across End of Zed? And I'm trying to think. It must have been the algorithm in Instagram. You know how you scroll sometimes.
Sure.
And I saw the image of the robot, and I was like, "Yo, this robot is dope!" Like I just loved the aesthetic, the way he looked. I'm gonna play a quick video because to me this is probably one of the best. And I'm not saying this because you're on the show, Eddie, because I'll say this out like behind your back.
Thanks, Jorge.
Yeah. But this is probably one of the best Kickstarter videos I've seen in a long time. And I don't watch Kickstarter videos because I don't know. It's just I don't know. They're just not interesting to me.
Right.
I'll just skip it. If I'm going to support your stuff, I'm going to support your stuff. But this, and for those who are watching, again, show notes. Check the show notes because all the links are in there. The Kickstarter link is on there. But check out this video. I'm going to play it right now, and then we'll come right back.
My name is Eddie Lima, and I'm the creator of End of Zed, a project I've been working on for years. The story follows a robot who crash lands in the Bronx in 1982, severely damaged and with no memory, as he navigates one of the city's most turbulent times, shaped by the rise of the crack epidemic. He also discovers the powerful, positive force of hip-hop.
Where am I?
Party people, are we ready? 3, 2, 1.
End of Zed isn't just another comic. It fuses the rebellious energy of New York City with a gripping dystopian narrative. This story delivers visually striking action and powerful themes. If you're into bold, unapologetic storytelling, then the End of Zed is for you. By backing this project, you're not only helping bring Zed's story to life, but you'll gain access to exclusive rewards. I can't wait for all of you to experience Zed's world. Back my project today and become part of this amazing journey.
Insane.
Thanks, man.
Insane. I love bring this project to life in this little light bulb.
Right. A lot of people get that.
That's little things, dude. It's just the little things in this video that are so amazing, dude. As far as the music and the beat, is that something that you hired somebody to do? Download? No, you created. Where did the music?
No, well, I wish the media person that helps me with everything. His name's Matt Seeger. He did the whole video and everything. He helped me with storyboards. The music was just stock, and it was kind of. And really, it really represents what this project really meant. And what do I mean by that? Is that it took us so long just to find the music. The music had to be right. It had to be energetic. It had to be powerful. It also had to be vintage. It had to be something that you heard from back in '82. So it took us about a day to find it, you know. But it really is indicative of this whole project. Every little thing you see, and I appreciate what you said about his character design, for example. All of that A lot of thought went into it because I knew that everything had to be as close to my vision as I wanted it to be for me to not only back it up, but for me to support it the way I do, you know?
Yeah. No, your good point about the music, because you hear the dun, 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 dun,
Right.
dun, dun, and you hear
Right.
that's 80s. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's like back in the day music.
Correct.
That's, you know, that's not, and
Correct.
and it's funny how that stuff holds up. The boom pat, like that,
Yeah.
that holds up. All that stuff holds up.
Sure. Absolutely.
You know? So
Absolutely.
you mentioned, and I wanted to ask you about your background too, because I've seen you on a few podcasts, and I know that you didn't grow up in the city, so people would think, oh, this is a kid from, and that's why he's doing this book about the Bronx. You grew up outside the Bronx, Westchester County.
Correct.
Right? A little bit about growing up in that era, outside of the city, and what that was like compared to what was going on in the city.
Well, I think whenever you're on the outside looking in, you look at things in a different perspective, right? So I was not in this city, I was on the outside. And being on the outside, you really see the contrast of not only your environment where you live, but more importantly, the environment that you see. So luckily for me, I had an aunt who lived, a step aunt, that she lived on the Lower East Side. So I would always go see her during the summertime. There's one summertime in particular that I spent a lot of time with her. And that summer was the first time I saw people breakdancing, the first time I heard a block party, the first time, and the most important part was when we hit a subway and the first time I saw Graffiti Day. This is 82. So if anyone that remembers that time, I don't want to date myself, but in 82, fully beautiful pieces of artwork that was literally in front of you. And I wish I could remember exactly what the name was or even what the aesthetic was. The only thing I remember was basically the color, a deep color red, and the way that the letters kind of went on the train. And I remember feeling a connection to it that is like, you know, even to this day gives me little shivers, because there's not a lot of things in life that give you that. And if you don't have, if you can't acknowledge that you're in that moment, you know, it's a shame. And not only did I recognize it at that moment, but I certainly recognize it now in 2024 of how much that impact made, not only in the aesthetic of how I view art, but more importantly in my art. And that's where I took this graffiti aesthetic and became, you know, a graffiti artist, and I took it from there.
Were you always a creative kid? Like, you grew up, you always wanted to draw? Is that
yeah, I was always the kid that drew, and always, I was always one class artist, all that through middle school, high school, all that. So people knew that this is going to be a connection with what I would eventually do, you know?
Right. It's funny. So I grew up the same way as you did, loving to draw. Right, just art was the thing. Unfortunately, I never developed it as much as I probably should have, because you know, I guess for whatever reason. But I think that graffiti, and especially like you said, growing up in hip hop, and because that's what I listened to as well growing up.
Sure,
graffiti was always something that just impressed me. As I like, we've talked about this all there, and you actually schooled me to this. There's a difference between a graffiti artist and a graffiti writer.
Correct.
Right? Now, tell for those who may not know, what are those differences?
Yeah, so graffiti artist is someone that takes the aesthetic of graffiti and makes it into their own art, right? But a graffiti writer, those are the ones that are out there and writing on the trains, and especially in the 80s, which was amazing, writing on the walls and really sending their message, which some would say is the true essence of art. You know, to go out there and to risk yourself to create this art to share with other people. You know, some people may call it vandalism, some people may call it art. I call it art. And so that's the difference between a writer and an artist. And these writers really need to be recognized. You know, there's a very famous movie called Style Wars. It's about graffiti artists, and from Scheme to other artists who were just like the pioneers of everything. Even though they weren't the beginnings of graffiti, wasn't with them, but they're the ones that took it to another level. So these artists really had so much influence, just like everything in hip hop.
Sure.
Have an influence that even to this day, now in 2024, there's not nothing that you can see in terms of pop culture that has not been connected somehow, some way to hip hop culture.
Yeah. I was actually having a conversation with a gentleman over the weekend about hip hop and how, you know, you're right. Hip hop obviously originated, you know, you talk about the old school guys, right? The Furious Five and all these guys, right?
Sure.
But then Rakim comes along and he starts talking about the life and he starts creating stories about, because before it was just like party music and like, you know, the boom. But then he starts giving you he became a street poet. He was a street poet, and he influenced people like Nas, you know, Jay-Z, even, you know, Biggie and all those guys, which were big in the 90s. You know what I mean? And so there's an evolution to all of this stuff.
Correct.
And the reason why I brought up the difference between the artist and the writer is because I remember growing up seeing kids with their black books. And for those who know what black books are, they literally were like sketch books, black sketchbooks with a black cover. And inside it would be just this beautiful, just amazing, just what they can do with letters.
Right.
Was what we impressed, because I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I was like, how the hell? And I'm going to show something, because you have a very impressive Instagram page.
Appreciate
and
it.
on your Instagram page, let me share some of that stuff here. Let's share that. This is insane, dude. Like, this is the type of stuff that growing up I was seeing. You know what I mean? I'd be like, oh my God, look at this. This is insane. So I started here. Let me see if we're seeing.
That's my first ever post on Instagram. So you're bringing me back. I got chills in my on my skin. Yeah, that's the first. I opened up my first graffiti Instagram site. Never had any connection to any kind of social media, and that was actually the first piece I ever did. Wow, excellent. Everything's vectorized. Yeah, computer art. Yeah.
Oh man, hold on. Let me get back in here. Hold on. So that's your first piece ever. That's insane.
Right. That's on the Instagram. And then you can see it gradually gets a little better, you know.
Wait, so how did you? All right, so this was this in a little black book, like they call them, or
originally it was. Originally these are all marker pieces. Yeah, and so what I did was, so every year, George, I take a project and I take it from beginning to end. And one year I said, I'm going to take all of my graffiti art and I'm going to transfer over into this digital realm. And I don't really have any kind of internet presence, so I'm going to open up an Instagram account. Never done it before. And I'm going to start it in January and it's going to end in December. Now, I need a metric to know that I made it or not, So the metric in this case was, if I have 1,000 organic followers, I know that I did something. Gotcha. And so I had 1,000 by like October, I think even earlier than that. Wow. But the experience of meeting people within the culture here, the experience of meeting other artists and as well as other writers really took it to another level. And so I appreciate that. Thank you. It was a lot of fun doing this.
This is insane, dude.
And this, believe it or not, will evolve into Zed, because as you keep going,
this evolves.
Yeah.
This is so now. This is stuff that was in your book, like all of.
Correct.
All of
some of it was. Some of it was.
Okay.
Yep. And some of it, as we started evolving, let me just create digital pieces from the beginning.
Sure.
Yeah.
God,
some contests that I entered in.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of influences from. And there goes the first iteration of what his name back in the day was called ZNK. Now he's called Zed, but ZNK, this is the first iteration of what I wanted him to look at. By this point, I already knew what the story was going to be, and I knew what his aesthetic needed to be.
He's got his Adidas and stuff.
Yes. Yes. With the detailed Adidas, yeah.
The detailed. So wait, so go ahead. I'm sorry, man. I cut you off. As soon as this popped up, you kind of lost it. But what were you saying? So you were you were in the middle of a thought. And
I was just saying that as I'm going along, this thing evolves eventually to where I knew that I had this character. In graffiti, it's always big to have a character that's going to kind of follow your pieces, and he was the first one that I did. And I had a background story for him, so I said, let me start incorporating it into my artwork. This is part of the process of how I vectorize things. This is all done with Adobe Illustrator.
Illustrator. I was going to ask you what you use.
Yes,
here it is.
So there goes the marker sketch behind. So now I'm going to go ahead and start creating the elements. And
Illustrator, man, is one of those. Like I'm big in Photoshop. Like I do a lot in Photoshop, and I've always wanted to learn Illustrator, but I've always had trouble with it, man.
Yeah,
look at you killing this thing. Holy cow.
Yeah, no, I think Illustrator is great. I tell you, for anyone who knows the Adobe suite, Illustrator, Photoshop's great. Trust me, you can do a lot with it. Illustrator, you got a lot more flexibility.
But it's not. But Illustrator is really for this kind of stuff. For the vector,
correct.
You know what I mean? Because you could blow this thing up to like billboard size, and you don't lose anything. Like it's so freaking cool. I wanted to ask you about the tag, right? Because I remember again growing up. That was one of the things that I wanted to do. That I want to get a black book, and I want to do this.
Right.
But the name is important, and I couldn't think of a name. Like I was like, what would my name be? So where did ZNK come from?
Well, it's short for Zonk. I couldn't get Zonk, and that was just a name that I I think honestly, I think I probably remember getting it from some kind of Bugs Bunny cartoon or something when I was younger. And I just like I always knew I was pretty good with Z's, so I think doing
Hmm.
Z's really would help.
Oh, I see. Oh, this
So
is nice. I like this
yeah,
tribute. This is
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Oh,
So
I
yeah,
see.
and 238 happened to be one of
Z
my
was like
favorite
your
numbers.
letter, the letter that you were
Correct.
like, I love. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, George, because a lot of people actually start off with that. They start with whatever letters they can do well, and they'll make sure it fits. Here goes again the
Oh,
beginnings of
dude.
the idea. I think here I said hoping to have one day to share the
Mm,
concept behind this tune.
nice.
Ultimate goal is to create a comic
Yep.
about its origin.
There
So
you go.
you see the very beginnings there, man. Holy
Yeah,
cow!
dude. So wait, 238 is there a significance in that number?
No, just a number that
Okay.
I liked.
Okay.
Yep, just a
Okay.
number that really rolled.
Yeah.
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 So no, but
Yeah.
normally people do it on the street they grew up on, or or
Sure.
things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
it was certainly it was the way I could draw the Z. I think that's what started it all.
The Z, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Zorro was taken, so I couldn't do Zorro or anything like that,
Zorro.
or
Look at
Zit.
that.
Couldn't
But
do
it's
anything like that.
but you're right though. Like if you look at the Z, like how it has all those points and stuff, like you can really
Yeah,
go off on that
sure,
letter and just do even the K. Like
absolutely,
the K comes out really nice. The N
sure,
lends itself to that.
sure.
That's freaking dope, man.
Yeah, and listen, I love graffiti. One of the main reasons I love graffiti is the balance of letters. That even though all these letters are going all over the place, my goal in graffiti is to always make sure there's some kind of balance. So
Dude.
even in this case, that if this was a physical object, that it
Yeah.
would balance on the table because that's
Mm,
how symmetrical it looks. To me, that's what's super important.
that's dope. And that's
Uh,
what I couldn't master, dude. I couldn't master
mm,
how the letters, because that was the beauty of it, right? How they would kind of live with
right,
each other. You know
correct,
what I
and
mean?
yet you can still read it, right?
And
Even
then you can
they could be
still
going,
read it.
yeah.
Yes,
In
yes.
some cases, yeah,
That was the thing that I was like, I couldn't get it. But look at this. It just starts, and like you've said, there's a flow. There's so
correct,
much, and I love what you do with color, dude. Like and I've heard you mention color when it came to the
yes,
story and how you chose
sure.
your team. So speak to me a little bit about your colors and the importance of having the right colors for the
Well,
story as well.
I think one person, as a little bit of a side note, that gives you a reminder of what that colors, how important they are, and how she can execute it is Lou Pons. And I don't know if
Ooh,
she's listening now, but like her last pieces really show you the power of color,
yes,
of how
yeah,
even though in some cases they may be subtle, they can still give you enough contrast to give you that feel that you're looking for. So hands up to Lou Pons because I always look forward to her post.
yeah, dude.
She's really dope, man.
She is so talented, man.
Really amazing.
This,
So
this
this is the one I
is
actually have up on top of me. There you go.
oh yeah, there it
Yeah.
is behind you. Yeah.
So
Oh,
what I
this
do is this is all vector art, by the way, and what that means is that this is like a mathematical equation, I guess, is what vector is, and you
mm,
could blow this up the size of the Empire State Building, and it'll still be
yeah,
this vivid and this beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
So yes, so colors is a big part of graffiti, and I also knew that colors would have to be a big part of the story. Why?
Mm,
Because I like to call End of Zed is basically Wild Robot meets the Warriors. I don't know if you remember the Warriors of the right.
oh yeah.
Really, that's the kind of gritty feel I wanted to have with the story. And
Mhm.
just like the Warriors takes place all in one night, all of my whole episode will take place all in one night.
This is dope.
So since everything's in darkness, everything's got to pop off. Now this is my first iteration. This is my first
I love this.
kind of like I'm gonna sit down. There was an artist on here who called Baked 182, and he did his own comic, and I loved his story because he said, I'm gonna be courageous. I'm gonna do it. It may not come out well, but I don't care because I always wanted to do this. And he encouraged me. And to this day, I'm still very close to him. And I told him this millions of times.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very important that people who inspire me, like you do,
Thanks,
and
man.
like he did, that I write. Listen, I would not be here if it wasn't for you. And he's certainly one of the biggest influences. So he did it. I did it. And if you go through the pages, this is basically like one of
Yeah,
the first
this
couple
is
of pages of
right. Yeah.
my
Yeah.
version of what the comic should be like.
Yeah, no, I love. I was gonna mention, like, I love. This is very old school comics, Ubi
Yes.
Comics Group, with the little box at the top, the letters that would always be on the front of the cover,
Yes.
right? The arrival, collector's item, premiere
Yes.
issue.
Yes.
This is so freaking. Now, this is your art. This is you. Like,
Everything. This is everything's
okay.
me. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The character,
Yeah.
now listen, I think I needed you back in the day, dude. Your lettering skills. So please don't laugh at my lettering skills too much, all right? But this is as close as I remember I could get to, what you guys do with lettering, because lettering I end up finding out through this experience is dope.
Yeah,
But yes, this is the feeling I wanted, man. Him
jeez,
coming
dude.
out dark, him being battered.
I love yeah.
Where am I? And then this is the short version of what you're going to see in the comic. Well, where is he? And then he looks around, I believe, and did this all in Procreate.
Oh, this is
Zero
appropriate.
inhabitants.
Okay.
Yep, zero inhabitants. Where is he? And then bam, the grand reveal. Well, he's in the South Bronx, 1982.
Wow, so you did the
Mayor Todd
graffiti,
Foster,
all
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Oh, it highlights
Mayor
my
Ed
graffiti as well.
Koch.
So, yes.
Wow, brought it back.
Which back in the day, George, that's what they would do. They'd put the mayor's name on the welcome thing,
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
they would do that. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, I can go through your Instagram all day. I wanted to get to that page because I did want to see the beginnings
Sure.
of this story and how you now originally was ZNK, right? Zed. Is that because of the last letter of the alphabet? Like
no. That has
where did it come from? The End of Zed. Where does the name come from?
Well, Zed comes from. So I end up writing the story now. I did those couple of pages, and I needed a new project. Remember, I already got my 1,000 followers. I needed a new project. So the next project was I'm going to write a movie script, and I'm going to write a movie script about this character. And I knew nothing about writing scripts. Okay, so what do? I hit YouTube. I read some great books. One of my favorite is a book called "Save the Cat," which teaches you about which one of my favorite books. Teaches you about story arcs and 3-act structure and all that. And so, with that, equipped with that, George, okay, I'm ready to write my script for the full year. And the goal is at the end of the year, I'm going to have that script in my hand and boom, it's done, So that's ZNK wouldn't fit. Why? Because as I'm writing the story, I'm noticing that, especially, I can't really reveal a lot, but in his story, he's going to reveal his origin. And Zed is the last letter of the alphabet. And in a sense, he will be the final solution. The last letter to what it is that he has to do. So that's where Zed comes from. And then the end comes from the fact that as soon as he lands, he hears a timer go off and he realizes, holy shit, what's going on? I don't have much time here. And then so you're going to find out that that he doesn't have a lot of time to do what he needs to do.
Oh, dude, this is you. I mean, the fact that it's so well thought out is what I love about this story. Like, I haven't read it. I don't know. I can't wait because I want to be surprised. So I'm glad that I haven't read it. But every time I hear you talk about it, it's like I get more and more curious about who Zed is, why he's here, and the pages that you've shown so far. For those watching, if you go to the website endofzed.com, you have a preview of the first 5 pages. I'm actually going to show some of the behind the scenes stuff that you actually did and had the process. But I get excited about it because I want to know what happens to Zed. Like, what is it? And this story, I'm big on. You call it a fish out of water story. I'm big on those. I love those. I love finding out what's going to happen. Like, these going through the process of figuring it out is what I love about stories. And that's what I love about this, because we're going through it with them. You have, let me share some of the stuff that you shared with me. Let's see. But I did.
I love dealing with primal themes, by the way. I appreciate that you mentioned, fish out of water story. These primal themes is really what makes us human. These things about, all of us have felt lost. All of us have felt, as badly damaged, and that we're in need of repair, need of mending. So these are all things that I wanted to cover within the story. And it works. It really does.
No, it does, man. It does. Hang on, let me just see if where it's hidden now in the back. But no, you're right. I do because I think as human beings, it's all about our journeys, right? We're born, we live, we die, right? That's just what it is. And so when I look for a story, a new story, I always look for that, and that's the way I kind of write. It may sound boring, but I think because of who we are, I think it makes it easier for us to understand what's going on. And I think that's those are some of the best stories. That when you think about Star Wars and stuff like that, like there was just there's a journey. There's a reason why these characters are doing what they're doing, and you're going along on this journey. Here's what I was talking about when it came to this. So these pages here. So this here on the left that's the thumbnails for one of the pages.
Correct. So basically, I took these sketches and I started making these sketches in these blue. Everything in blue is everything I drew. And so what I did was, you know, and this could be a positive thing or a negative thing. You know, I'm not a sequential artist, or else I would have done the whole thing myself. I did a pretty good job, I think, but
You
it
did.
certainly wasn't. It wasn't what I had envisioned of what it would look like. So I knew I would have to hire a team, but I also know I would have to hire an artist who was patient enough to work with me. Because as I spoke to you before, I'm not going to just hand them off a script and say, okay, I'll call you in a couple of months. Like, you know, tell me how it looks. I literally had everything fleshed out, the panels and everything. So I needed an artist to not only one, be patient enough to work with another artist, two, bring in what they have to bring to the table. Because remember, these guys are amazing artists. And thank goodness he did, because from this point on, he really kind of hones in my vision, but makes it his own. And then that's the true sense of the word collaboration, which I've dealt with thousands of projects in my life, George, you know, in my professional career. But there is something about a true collaboration that you do, especially with something that's personal to you, like your own story. That if it works, it really is a magical thing. And you'll see the process here. So yeah, I sent him to write a little notes of what needed to be, what was important to me in the scene. In this scene, he encounters this three-headed dog that he thinks is kind of like, because remember, he's got his vision is badly damaged. He can't see well. He can't really hear. So when he first sees this dog, it's like a three-headed creature. And he goes, what kind of world am I in? This three-headed creature. And then, so as he's being chased through the street, the reveal is that you can't reveal that it's really three dogs till that panel here. So that's why I drew on that panel, because three dogs, and when they go into the spotlight, boom, you can see three. Yeah. And so then he gave me his rendition. Of course, it's got to end up with, you know, "Welcome to the Bronx." Sure. And this is what he gave me. And then
what page is this?
This is page 3, I believe. Okay. Yeah, this is like third page, I believe. Yeah. No, that's the 5th page. I'm sorry.
This is page 5.
5th page. Yeah, because he has to land. He sees his first human and so forth. Yeah. And then here's the sketch. Yeah, he at first here. This is an older one. If you notice, he had the three dogs separated, and I told him, well, listen, no, they got to be closer, because the reveal is when they come into the light, and then that's where they kind of dog them up, you know.
Dude, literally dog them up, bro. Like that Jesus, yo, they are beating my man up.
Yes.
So then this is
ink.
This is inked.
And this part of the story, the way it happens at the end is that the dogs are biting him. They're about to kill him, but then all of a sudden a bright light comes from across the street, and that's what scares the dogs off. And so this is where the colorist comes into play. So by the way, my main artist's name is Lucas Assis. He's from Brazil, and he works with a counterpart who's very talented with colors. I call him G Sabino, and he actually does the color. And then working with him, okay, guys, here he's behind the Bronx sign, but he can't see that it's the word the Bronx yet till the bottom panel. And so we had to bring down the sign. It had to say perfect full view. I also needed him to be behind a brick wall, because I also knew that I'm going to sell tags in this. I'm going to put tags as homage to those that I went through my internet experience with, graffiti. I'm going to put that there. So you see how much of a pain in the ass I am already, right?
So like, damn it, I thought it was just going to be this. Now it's the whole thing.
Yeah, correct. I thought I'm done, you know, but they were great. And I'm looking forward to doing the rest of the series with them. I will never change that team.
But it's like you said, right? It's the process. And I know, listen, is this page in the campaign finished?
This is part of the 5 pages for free.
It's the preview.
So yeah. Okay. So in the comic book, I think I sent you that too. In the comic book, on the last page, you'll see the final fruition of that, of not only the inks, but then the colors, and then everything kind of coming together. But that was the process for everything there, George. That was basically it. You know, I gave him the script, but we worked more with the images of the panels, because there's certain panels that I needed to be certain ways, you know. But then he brought in his expertise, and G did too. He brought in his expertise with color. And it was in the true sense of the word, a collaboration.
Well, that's the thing, and for me, I was sold, dude. As soon as I saw the images, because listen, the thing is this, right? You have to. It's a visual medium. Right. It really is, and that's what you have to sell. Like, you have to sell people on the vision. Right. Speaking of Lou.
Oh, we're just talking about you. We're
talking about you. I gotta tell you, wow.
Oh no.
What?
Oh no!
No way! That is insane! Holy cow! Yeah, hey man, scary.
Keep him away from that creative hand. All right.
Yeah,
we need that, please.
I was like you said. Lou has like a YouTube channel, and she
Yeah.
is just insane with her art, man. She's amazing. But no, I mean, and what I was saying about the visual medium, it's a visual medium, so you want to make sure that it catches the eye, because as much as, and I say this all the time, art will sell you the first issue. A good story will keep you coming back for the rest, right? But you have to sell them on that very first issue of the book.
Correct.
If you don't, then you're screwed,
Yeah.
man. You know, you're done. You're done.
Well,
But
you cats schooled me to that. I'm telling you, every show that I heard, as you guys, remember when I'm creating this, I'm listening to you and Sam,
oh man,
and
that's
I'm
awesome.
looking at your
Thank you.
influence, and yeah, those are things that you've tremendous. Yeah, I didn't have to learn the hard way, put it that way, because I
Yeah.
learned
Well, and
experience.
that was the whole thing. Like when we started doing the book, I mean, when we started doing our
Mhm.
Kickstarter, our podcast, Catch the Craze. This was back in 2006, dude. Like we started way back in the day.
Yeah.
And but when we brought it back, we wanted, it's almost like the do's and don'ts, right? Like
Yeah.
the things that we did that maybe didn't work out.
Yeah.
And that's what we kind of wanted to talk about, And I'm glad we did it. I'm glad that somebody like you took heed and actually made that work.
Yeah.
What's up, Izzy? Who talked about the Bronx
Hey,
without me?
Izzy, how we doing, man?
What up? Another great dude, man.
Yes, I met him too. I met him in the
yeah,
Bronx Anime Con. Yeah,
yeah,
really is.
man. Yeah, nah, dude.
I remember when he took a pause, man. It wasn't good, man. It wasn't good for us. He took a little pause from doing his shows, and so we missed him. So I'm glad
he's
you're
got
back,
a
Izzy.
really dope show, man. For those watching,
Always,
check out
yeah.
Izzyverse NYC, man, on
course.
YouTube. He's got an incredible show. Yeah,
Yeah.
good dude. Very knowledgeable
Oh my
about
gosh, yeah.
comics and all that other stuff. So yeah, it's
Yep.
always good to see guys like that do their thing on
Sure.
the YouTubes. But yeah, man, I was hooked, dude. I was hooked as soon as I saw what you were doing, man. I was hooked. And then I have you on the show, and you're sharing all this stuff with me. You shared something that I'm about to share with you guys. There is 2 videos. They're about 1:50 each, but they're worth it. And this is the true behind the scenes of how this book comes together. What book am I talking about? The End of Zed. If you guys go to the show notes, his Kickstarter campaign is on there. Pledge to it today. You're almost there, man. You're at $900.
Nice.
You're at
Getting
$900. Yeah, you're getting there, baby.
Yes.
We're almost there. But let me share this with you guys. Check this out. This first one is 147. Let's take a look at this.
Our story begins on a quiet, rainy night. You see a spaceship falling from the sky in front of a backdrop of a city landscape. It crashes into the city streets, screeching through a couple of deserted blocks before stopping. Out of the flames, you see a battered white robot pulling himself out of the wreckage. Though his design is simplistic, he is a highly technical robot. His face guard is cracked, his right earpiece is dangling, and his right foot is severely damaged. As he crawls out of the wreckage, his foot gets caught in between the glass and rubble. He falls to the ground, causing sparks to shoot out.
Interface. Assess my health levels.
Right foot operating levels in critical condition at 10%. Vision is operating at 40%, audio levels at 25%, memory is at 10%.
He slowly stands up.
Interface. Track my location.
Location unknown. Time unknown. Communication offline.
He starts to record the first entry into his mission log.
Reporting to HQ. Temperature is 75 degrees Fahrenheit with an oxygen concentration level of 20.95%. Planet appears to be desolate. The ship is broken beyond repair. Diagnostics indicate that the right side of my body took the most damage. The bottom of my right foot is exposed and is depleting my energy levels. Hopefully my full memory will be restored and I will know what my mission is here.
Immediately after he finishes his log, he hears a timer set off in his helmet interface. It starts a countdown for 5 hours.
Lost, no communication or memory. Damaged, and now this.
So good, dude. So good.
Yeah, man.
But
Yep.
wait, there's more. Hold on, I'm gonna play this one, then we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna play the next one.
The robot gazes upon the rainy cityscape, scanning the horizon for a sign of life. He picks up high-pitched sounds in the distance.
Interface. Analyze sound frequency.
This signal communicates the need for urgent action, caution or response. It's used for emergency situations.
The interface continues scanning and detects infrared heat, which signifies that a life form is present. He follows the direction of the heat, walking deeper into the city. He tracks the heat source to a broken telephone booth. The robot sees a shadow of a skinny, tall, life form, shaking violently in the telephone booth. He uses his interface scan to zoom in on the being. The interface runs data.
This is a human being. They are thinking and feeling creatures, unique in its capacity to ponder the meaning of existence and explore the complexities of life. They are the dominant species of power on this planet.
Another being approaches and, without words, they make an exchange. The interface runs data again.
This is currency. It's the current medium of exchange used by humans for trading and purchasing.
The interface starts scanning the package now.
These are drugs. It is used to induce an altered state of consciousness. The trafficking and abuse of drugs affects all aspects of human lives. It causes economic division, it overburdens their justice system and leads to environmental destruction.
Immediately after this reading is completed, a pre-recorded message from HQ comes through.
Throughout human history, materialism and selfishness have consistently driven actions, often at the expense of harming others. This fundamental flaw will always hinder their progress.
Dude, let me just throw some of these out. Talking about me, that's why my ears are burning. Yes, indeed. Lou's like, yes, play more. Dude, the video, I mean, so well done, bro. Like those voiceovers, again, was that your media?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
together?
that's all AI. Actually, I created all of that. That was even before my AI came. I knew, so I had the finished script. That was part one. Part two, I had to convert it over to a comic script. Thank goodness I found an amazing editor. Well, actually not found. He's my best friend. His name is Brian Zanzanigo. He helped me edit it over into the comic script world. And then I knew that I had all these sketches that I did, and I needed to see how it pieced together. And hence, that's why I made those movies. And with those movies, this is like the beginnings of AI. So there's a lot of AI voices in there and everything to create it. But I needed to see what the tempo was going to be, the feeling was going to be. And I knew that if I can, and I spent a lot of time on those videos. And actually, my whole story, my whole story is a giant movie. I think it's about maybe 45 minutes, something like that, 50 minutes. But it takes you exactly what everyone's going to see, what the comic book's going to do. But it's super instrumental to the process for me. I realize I'm not a comic creator then, and this is the first time I ever ventured into it. So for me to get to what I needed to focus in on, to get on my vision, I needed to do these things to give me my vision on what I needed to do.
Sure.
And I had a lot of fun doing those. It took a long time, but certainly it helped me along the way, especially as we started creating the actual physical comic.
But it shows how serious you were about this book, because you don't do this if you're not serious about getting it completed. You just don't sit there and spend all that time doing all of that if you're not serious about what you're doing. So I commend you, man, because that's some hard work to do. Yeah. But it's brilliant because you're right. It does help you with the pacing, right? Yes. With the pacing of the story and how it's gonna work out. Because I think that's one of the things that, when you're first doing this, when you start writing and creating comics and all that, the pacing is important, man, because you want them to keep flipping that page. And the minute that they stop flipping the page means something's off, something's wrong, something didn't click. And some stories need some stories are a slow burn because you're trying to create that character development that you may not get. So not everything's going to be action and what I mean? Some of it is just, it's especially with somebody who's going through learning the world.
Right.
You got to show some things. Not everything is going to be action.
Yeah, you need that setup. Yep, you really do. And in his case, you need the audience, in my case, to empathize with him, to sympathize with him. And it gets back to what we were talking about before, fish out of water story. And so that's why everything had to be important in terms of his first scenes. What does he see? Great examples. The first human he sees is basically, unfortunately, someone who's addicted to drugs, Right. And so when the computer is given a description of what a human being is and telling him that they're the dominant species on this planet, he's looking at it, wow, that's the best that you have to get. And then when he sees the drug deal go down and he sees the definition of what humans do with this money, and then it looks at the crack and what that does and how it takes another person to a higher state, he sits back and goes, holy cow, man, where am I in? Another human can do that to another human. So it's the setup of, us empathizing with him, and us too looking at things with fresh eyes too. Looking at things. One of the things that was super important that I wanted to kind of connect in the story, particularly at the end, I really, really want people to start thinking about programming. In particular, like, how was it that we were programmed? Now, when we were programmed, our parents, thank goodness, we had good parents. Hopefully we did. That kind of taught us what's right or wrong. We looked through their lens of showing us what is what, And then as we got older, the media certainly did it. The media would show you, okay, this is what this is. This is. Yeah. But somewhere along the lines, whether it's through wisdom or maturity, you have to kind of come up to your own conclusions. Yeah. And what my parents teach me was correct about what they're teaching me through their lens. Was the media right about this culture or about this system or about these people? And then when you ultimately have to make your own choice, like in Zed's case, he will see the good and he will see the bad, and he will have to make decisions based on that. And yes, the world's fate is up to he chooses right. So let's leave it at that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. And that, we were talking about hip hop. And I remember, coming from, obviously growing up, my parents weren't from here. My father, I'm from Ecuador. So, growing up, listening to this hip hop, to them, it was like, especially to my dad, it's like, that's not music, bro. What are you listening to? What is this? These are people just talking. Like, what is that? They didn't understand. Again, programming, right? To him, this isn't music. It's not what music is, right? But here I am discovering a new kind of sound, something that's now mine. That's my music. It's not your music. It's right. And
excellent.
But then even hip hop doesn't just get attacked by the parents; it gets attacked by the media. When NWA was coming out, and Snoop Doggy Dogg, and during the '90s, it was very much, hey man, this is a volatile music. It's not good for the kids. They put warnings on the cassettes. That's when parental guidance suggested came out in that time. So we lived through a lot of that, even for our music. And I'm not saying that hip hop was the only music to go through that, because I'm sure other music from the 60s and 70s also, whenever something new comes out,
correct,
there's always going to be. But that's the programming, right? That's part of the programming that you
Great
talk
point.
about.
Great point. And in his case, he comes down. And he comes down, he has a lot of holes. He's broken, for example. He can barely hear, he could barely see, he could barely move. And so
that's awesome.
Him going through that, his first time he listens to hip hop music will be a healing experience for him. And he will gain his powers, and he will have super hearing from that. When he sees graffiti, his eyes his visor that was once cracked will start to heal, and now he'll have supervision. Awesome. And so again, it's a metaphor, and it's a connection to how I was, right? Holes in my life. And if it wasn't for hip hop music, if it wasn't for, graffiti and things like that, I would not have filled these voids that make me the person I am today. So super excited. Super excited. I think the story came out great. And the trial runs of people that already saw it, they really dig it, man. So
dude, I'm telling you, I dug it from that first image that I saw. I remember being on the show, and I was like, oh, gotta check out End of Zed. Like, you have to check it out. And I'm so glad that you did it and that you've completed the story, at least the first chapter. I know you're working on it still, but because a lot of times great stories like this don't see the light of day, and it's because I think people give up way too soon. I think some people realize how tough this is to do. And they start second guessing, and sometimes they're like, what's the point? Like, I'm not.
Well, but I got to tell you, George, there's some things in life that you have to acknowledge, right? I think sometimes you have to realize that there's points in life that you may meet someone, or you may meet an experience that brings you onto this other level, and then another level. And if you look back, all these things connected and for reasons. And again, I've told you this before, but it's certainly worth telling you on air. When I first started thinking of the concept, okay, I'm going to create my own comic. Let me go out and let me see who's down with the indie scene. And yours and Sam's show was one of the first things I caught. So now I'm listening to the background as I'm drawing, I'm illustrating, I'm going through the scripts, And then and I ended up finding out that this indie community is like a family. It literally is, and not only is it a family, but how everyone picks up each other, right? And then when I seen how you and Sam in particular, the chemistry, and learn about your history of everything that you went through, and then to see Sam and his videos and how he goes through, oh my gosh, all the things he goes through the show, literally for the love of what he's doing in the fashion. and going through all those hurricanes and Texas storms and all that,
Yeah.
And then I end up, you get on, and then I end up getting Russ. There you go.
Yeah, my man. Thank you.
I end up
Thank
getting
you
Russ.
so much,
And
man.
I read the book and I tell everyone around me, oh my gosh, what a perfect timing thing. Why? Because Russ's themes about how, what you don't hear, what is truth? Where you hitting truth from? And in his case, the protagonist, how he thinks and I don't want to give away a lot there, but how he thinks his world's a certain way.
Yeah.
But it's really not. So all these influences all came at the right time. So again, I don't want to embarrass you, George, but certainly you're one of the biggest influence to this. And literally from the beginning, because I remember, I'm listening to you dudes a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden I get on, and my icon, I don't want to put an icon. I don't want to put this face because I don't want to scare anyone. So I'm going to put Zed, and I'm going to be called End of Zed, And then when you saw it, literally the first show, you start flipping like, oh my God, look at this icon. This character looks dope. Right. And then you didn't even know I had a book. So, that's a dope icon. And then I got on some other shows. They recognized it too. But the moment I told you that I was going to take out a story, well, then from there, gosh, you were my biggest support, which I'll always appreciate, George. I really will.
Yeah, no, and I'm telling you, man. Yeah, you're right. It was the icon. I was like, yo, what is that? And then, so obviously, as we do, we Google stuff, and I started looking to see what that. And then I saw your page, and I was like, holy cow, this is. But it's funny when I first met you, because you came to one of my book signings, and I appreciate you for coming, dude.
Yeah,
that was incredible that you showed up. I did not. The last person I pictured walking through the door was you. I was like,
I know people say that. Is that really him?
Wait,
so you expect me to come with a big helmet on, right?
Yeah, a helmet on. It was like some sunglasses, hip hop clothes.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
what? That was insane. But it was so good to meet you, man. And it was. And again, listen, I'm gonna support you till the end of this book, and even when you put out the next one, because I really believe in this project, brother. And I think you're gonna do amazing. For those watching, End of Zed is on Kickstarter right now. It's in the show notes. The link. Let me throw it on the in the chat also. So if you haven't done so yet, please pledge to the campaign. You have let me see how many days you have left. I have it up right now.
I think it's like 2 days before Thanksgiving. But
it's
like I was telling you
days.
earlier. See, if I can, please, who could ever support me back, man, I would really appreciate it. Because one of the things that I'm a little worried about is that tomorrow's election day, and I'm not sure how this whole week's gonna go. I don't know if people are gonna be thinking of comics when this week coming up. So please back me up today, so that way we don't have to worry about.
Week,
Let's
get this funded today.
Yeah. But that's that's one of the things that worries me, though, because certainly losing time. I lost time in the beginning. Now I lost time with that, and then we only got 2 weeks after that. So any support and sharing this message, I really appreciate.
I think you'll definitely pick up speed right after this stuff is done. Where do you go next? Like where could they people find you next? What's your next appearance? What's your next show? What are we doing?
Yeah, there's a couple. Well, the biggest one is a week from tomorrow. Catch the Craze show, man.
You're on the show.
Boy, yes, and actually, I'm sponsoring the show this week.
Oh, sweet,
with you guys. So they're gonna do that Tuesday tomorrow. You'll do that
tomorrow.
But the following week, man, I'm renting my tuxedo, man. I'm finally brushing my teeth.
Go, man. We're gonna get all the good stuff in the green room for you.
For that.
Yes, we're gonna have all the good stuff for you in the green room.
Because I'm not exaggerating, George. Really, to envision that day is going to be just like even with Lori too. Lori did my launch party, which was I'll be forever indebted to her. And I've always envisioned that too, like how my launch party would be. But being on your show with Sammy is gonna really, I don't know, it's gonna be a surreal moment for me.
It'll be
because
good,
you got to understand, dude. For listening to you guys for a year and a half, going through all this and going through some real hard times, trying to get things to fit. Things weren't, me not feeling maybe it won't work, and so forth and so on. And then to hear you dudes, and then the energy and inspiration that you guys give off, man, it's really one of the components of me helping me do what I want to do. So it's going to all come full circle that Tuesday. And then of course everyone that listens to the show, all the crazies themselves, Hugo, of course, Lupins, and a lot of people there that again are also very encouraging. That even through our talks, just us, bullshitting on the chat with you guys and laughing.
Yeah, it's freaking great. It's a good time.
Yeah,
it's a good
really
time.
is, so.
It's a good time. No, my brother, but thank you so much for coming on tonight, Ed. This has been amazing, dude. And we're gonna have to do it again because I know that when the book comes out, and even after that, when you have your next Kickstarter, whatever, then we could really spoil the first issue and we could really talk about the first issue.
Thank goodness.
This was just a little preview for everybody to make sure you pledge to the campaign. Let's get this thing funded. End of Zed ends 23 days from today, so it's on November 27th. It'll be over at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 34 backers right now. You're at an even 900, my man. So, $1,500 to go. You'll get it. You'll definitely get it. So, but yeah, my brother, thank you so much. We're gonna sign off here. I'm actually gonna stay on because I have another show coming up at 8:15.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Double dipping tonight. but I had to get you in here, man, because I wanted to talk about this. So
appreciate it.
But yeah, my brother, thank you so much. And
Thanks
for those that have been watching, Lou, thank you so much. Izzy, you're the man. Thank you for watching. Lou will be there tomorrow. So we'll see you tomorrow. Next week. Next week. You'll be there next week. She'll be there tomorrow too. She's great. Yep. But thanks, Ed. We'll talk soon, my brother.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, George.
Later. All right, everybody. That was Eddie Lima, End of Zed. Make sure you go into the show notes and in the chat. There is his link. Pledge today. Hook him up. And I'll see you guys in a little bit. I'm heading out of here. Peace.